What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a hoot and a holler, a true banger, if you will. Today we're talking about codeine pills. Now, we're not talking about any codeine pills, the mega finesse codeine pills. We're going to explain what the fuck that means in a little bit here. But first off, drop a like if you guys do enjoy this video. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. I would be saying Instagram right now, but I literally am still locked out of my account. Don't get me started, because I'll get pissed, okay? Listen, just don't get me started, okay? Or else I'm going to start rambling about it, and I'm going to get mad. I'm making myself ramble about it already. So, drop a like if you do enjoy this video, and without further ado, let's dive right into it. So, this took place way back in high school, and I say way back because it feels like such a fucking long time. Really, this was like 4.5 years ago, maybe, like, give or take, dude, which is a long-ass time, but I used to have a friend in high school whose name was Michael, right? We're going to call him Michael. And I've mentioned him in a couple past videos. You guys are probably familiar with him, or at least some of you guys. But Michael was a friend of mine who, A, he was always trying to finesse, B, he never attended school, and C, he smoked a bunch of weed. So we got along great, right? We were very good friends all through high school. Haven't seen the guy in a little while now. It's been maybe like a year since I smoked with him. But still, I consider us still good friends to this day, right? But back then, we were super tight. I'd go over to this guy's house very often. I wouldn't say all the time, but maybe once or twice a week, right? And he'd usually appear at functions that I'd be at too, right? So either way, I hit him up on this fine day, and we'd just gotten out of school. It's not like we were skipping or anything, but we already know he didn't go to school that day. So I hit him up, and I'm like, hey, what are you up to? And he's like, not shit, I'm just chilling. My mom just left for the night. You should come through. And I'm like, bet. Sounds like a plan. So I'm chilling out, I'm getting ready, and good old Bill hits me up. Now, I know Bill was not a super common character in my high school stories. I didn't really start kicking it with Bill, like, very often until way after high school. Or not way after, but maybe like a year out of high school, I started hanging out with him a lot more. But back in high school, we were still friends, but we didn't kick it often. So it was kind of surprising to have him hit me up, right? But at this point, we were still kind of friends, and he hits me up, and he asks what I'm on, pardon me. And I know that he's closer friends with Michael than he was with me at that point, right? So I tell him I'm going to Michael's house. And he's like, oh, bet, dude, let's all meet up at Michael's and get baked. So we slide over there. We go over to Michael's maybe like 30 minutes later, right? And we're chilling at Michael's. It's early in the evening. We just got out of school. And it's just us three. And none of us have a bunch of weed, right? This was the high school days. This wasn't like now where we can just, smoke willy-nilly and shit. This is the high school days, right? Listen, a 10 sack on 3 heads was wonderful. A 20 sack on 3 heads was Christmas. And an 8th on 3 heads, we must have robbed somebody, right? It was high school. That's just how it went. And if you weren't serving, you were finessing, right? You were either finessing your friends, you were finessing your mom, you were finessing somebody to get that sack, okay? We all know it, all right? All you guys out there, some of you guys are probably living through it right now. And if not, you probably have lived through it, right? But either way, we smoke our weed, and we had maybe like a gram, all three of us collectively. We brought our match pack. I brought the most. I brought like a half gram. And then Bill, of course, hoed. He showed up with like a 0.3. And then I remember Michael just had like scraps on his rolling tray that we all threw together and made some blunts out of. We rolled 2 little tiny blunts, 2 little half-gram blunts out of these. And we were like, bet, boys, we're getting baked. So we smoked up and got nice and stoned, and we're chilling in Michael's room playing a little Xbox, right? Playing some World at War like we always did. And eventually we get off that and we go out to his living room. We did one of our favorite things, right? We played Risk. Very often, and this was only at Michael's house I'd ever do this, but we'd all get together and we'd get baked, and sometimes we'd play Risk. I really started to like the board game there. I'd never played it before I started kicking it with them, but damn, Risk goes hard. Play it with your homies, dude. If you're like at your friend's house and you just see it sitting on the shelf, dude, bust that shit out. It's so fun. It's so fun. We'd fuck Bill up every time. We'd take all his turf. He'd get so pissed. It was awesome. But either way, so we're chilling out playing some Risk, and as we're playing, time goes by, and we're not really high anymore after a while, and we realize that none of us really have any weed or any money, right? Like, we have maybe $5 collectively, and we were trying to go get some McChickens in a little bit, so obviously that wasn't gonna fly. We needed to do something. So we're all thinking, we're all going through our Snapchat trying to hit people up thinking of a finesse, right? And out of nowhere, Michael just goes, I got someone, right? And we're like, what do you have? Like, what do you mean? Like, is someone going to slide or what? He's like, no, dude, I got a finesse, right? Like, I got a lick to hit. And we're like, well, what is it? Like, you got to fill us in. So he starts explaining. He's like, oh, I'm just going to serve this kid some codeine pills. And I'm like, wait a minute. How do you have no money if you've had codeine pills this whole fucking time, bro? Why are we not popping those? Why did you not say anything? I would have, like, dude, let's do some fucking codeine pills, you know? Like, we're sitting here at the function. You're sober. We're all sober. Why are you not taking the codeine pills, dude? And eventually, you know, he spills the beans. Not eventually, he spills the beans. He's like, they're not actually codeine pills, dude. He's like, I'm just hitting a lick. I need some money. We're going to buy some weed with it, right? So I'm like, oh, who is this kid? He goes, you don't know him. He's in my grade. Now, Michael was a grade below me, right? And Bill was a grade above. We were just a mixed match of people, right? Bill is a year older than me, and Michael's a year younger than me, right? So either way, he's like, oh, it's a kid in my grade. You don't really know him. So I'm like, oh, okay. Perfect. Sounds good to me. And that was the nice thing about hanging out with Michael. He mainly kicked it with people in my grade, right? Like there was a couple people from his class that, I'd met through him, but he mainly hung out with people that were in my graduating class, right? And the nice thing was, because of that, he would always have like a finesse to hit because he knew this whole class of kids that none of us really knew that well or, super well, that he just knew way better and grew up with and knew who was an easy stain and he could just get them all the time. This guy always had a lick to hit, right? So either way, he's talking to this kid, and he's like, all right, bet. This dude's going to come grab these in like 20. You guys should come out to the parking lot with me, right? And we're like, all right, why do you need us to come out? And he's like, well, I mean, if he says something, we're just going to have to like beat his ass, dude. We need this money. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I guess we're really on our fiend shit tonight. I didn't know we needed an 8 that bad, but let's get it, right? So the plan's in action. Dude's going to come, he's going to grab these codeine pills, and we're going to buy our drugs, right? We're going to buy our weed and get baked. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, if I don't know the guy, I don't really care. I didn't set the finesse up, like whatever. I was just trying to find someone to come over and smoke us out. But you know what? That works too. So eventually dude pulls up and he hits up Michael and he's like, yo, I'm here. And Michael's like, all right, boys, we got to go. Or he didn't say he was here. He was like, I'm about to pull up, right? So we're like, all right, boys, let's go outside. So we go outside and we go across the street from Michael's house. And across the street from Michael's house, there was this little spot that we used to call the box, right? It was this parking lot that we used to smoke in. And it was the perfect spot. We'd smoke there, we'd serve people there. And eventually it got popped, allegedly. No one really knows how or why. But I guess at one point everyone just decided it was popped and stopped going there. But for a while, it was just the crime central, right? Just the spot for goonery. So we're standing in this little parking lot, and dude comes walking up. I have no idea where this guy came from because I don't think he came in a car, and if he did, he must have parked down the block because this guy just like walks up out of nowhere. And Michael's got this little like pill bottle, right? And he's got these little fuckers in it. And the pill bottle's got no label on it. It's just these generic fucking pills, right? And he's got them, and the dude's like, yo, what's up? And he daps him up, and then he introduces himself. He's like, my name is, I don't remember what the fuck he said his name was, dude. I literally, this is the only time I'd ever seen this kid in my life. We're just gonna call him Steve. He's like, yo, dude, I'm Steve. And he daps all of us up. We introduce ourselves. Me and Bill are just kind of standing there, making sure everything goes okay, right? Michael hands him the pills. Dude busts out like $40. He's like, here you go. Good looks on these. Michael's like, yeah, bro. They're really fire, dude. Just make sure you only take like one at a time, maybe one or two at a time, dude. You don't want to go too overboard with it, right? And he's really selling them. He's like, bro, these are fire. So of course, we immediately were like, oh, we got to gas these up with him. So I'm like, dude, I'm off one of these shits right now. I'm like, Steve, I'm off one of these hoes right now, bro. This shit, you're going to love it, bro. I'm lit right now. I'm bussing, dude. And he's like, oh, nice, dude. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it, man. He's like, he daps up Michael again. He daps me up. He daps Bill up. And he goes and walks off to whatever end of Narnia he fucking popped out of, right? So we go back to Michael's house. We skip across the street. We were ecstatic. We had our $40, and that's all that mattered. So immediately we get in there, and we're trying to plan out what we're going to buy. We're like, all right, boys, we could buy an 8, then we could get some McDonald's on top, because we still had our $5 left. So we had a total of $45. So we could like, boys, we could get an 8th and like a really little cheap case of beer or something, or we could get a better 8th and that could just be all of our money, like we had options. You back then, listen, when you're an adult, $40 ain't shit. But I swear to God, there was no age that I ever appreciated $40 more than when I was like 16, dude. Holy fucking shit. That it went such a long way when I was young, bro. It went such a long way. Looking back at it, dude, I was high for the whole fucking night. I was sent all night off that $40. Now, hell no, dude. I could dream. But either way, so back on topic here, right? So we go back into Michael's house and we're chilling, and Michael hits up his weed man. His weed man slides through, he goes out, comes back in with an 8. And he bought the more expensive shit. And now we're all sitting here and we're like, dude, it's fucking Christmas. And we're sitting there and we're rolling up this blunt. And it maybe like 2 hours go by, right? We smoke this blunt, we roll up another, and it's just a standard night, right? It's still just us three, myself, Bill, and Michael. We're chilling out. We're still playing some 360 like the good old days. Little co-op, you know, little split screen in his bedroom, just going crazy. And he only had 2 controllers. We were just trading off who played every round while one person was on like blunt duty, you know? It was actually a really, really dope arrangement. And we were chilling there, and maybe a couple hours go by, and Michael gets a call, right? So he picks up his phone. And it's dude, right? He picks up his phone, and listen, he doesn't put him on speaker, but I could tell by Michael's facial expression, it's Steve, right? Like, it's Steve. He picks up the phone and just immediately starts cracking the fuck up. And he starts cracking up, and I look over and I'm just like, what? Like, what's going on? And he just looks at the phone, and I remember all he says, he's just like, thanks for the 8th, bro. And he hangs up, and I'm like, damn, dude. Poor Steve. You kind of got, I mean, I never knew the guy, but this worked out in my favor. So you know what? Thanks for the 8th, Steve. Like, damn. But Michael's just crying over there, dude. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck he said to him, but it had Michael geeking. Maybe it seemed like Michael kind of didn't like this guy for some reason. He seemed perfectly nice to me. But it seemed like Michael didn't like, this seemed like a little more than just for money. It seemed like Michael really didn't like this kid. But I didn't ask too many questions about that. That's not my business. I was just concerned about getting very baked, which we did. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, we smoked through our night. It was wonderful. Got baked. And I went home nice and high, dude. I felt wonderful, boys. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you did. Be ready for tomorrow's upload, as well as we're going to do a stream tomorrow as well. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.